Is it all child clinic that you do?
Mm-hmm. And Monday's like my regular, like general outpatient clinic. And I have 5 hours of therapy. Um, and three of them don't want to fucking see me because they're like 8 and angry at me. So that's always real fun.
You could do like what the bank does, and you could have those little dum dum lollipops like whenever they come,
Mm-hmm.
so they're excited about coming
Well,
in to
it's
talk to you.
telemedicine.
Oh shit.
I can't
Okay.
even bribe them.
I know. Fuck, that sucks.
I know. I one of them, if she talks for more than 30 minutes about something aside from her cats, then we play like what's that stupid game? Among Us.
I feel like I feel like I've come up on a house with like a pie cooling in the window, and I'm just like looking through, and like I'm not welcome there. Because I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing everybody talk about Among
Hmm.
Us, and I'm like, oh cool, like I'm part of the zeitgeist, but then I don't actually know what it is, which is problematic. So I don't know. Maybe I should play it.
What was it last week? AOC created a Twitch and had like Alien on it, and they like played Among Us, and it was like the second like most viewed Twitch in the history of like them streaming.
Yeah, that's
Oh
crazy.
shit.
And apparently, like Omar is a fucking badass, and, like just wrecking people's shit.
Did you see her rig?
I didn't like.
God
No.
damn, she's
Is
got a
she an
fucking
actual
setup.
gamer?
I don't know. I mean, maybe she's using somebody else's setup, but if that's hers, then shit, I'm impressed.
Maybe it's her kids. The one
Maybe.
who's like always calling her a lib.
Yeah, she's got that cool daughter. What's her name?
Oh
I
my god.
forget.
Damn, I don't know. Yeah,
But she
she's
has a Twitter and she's always going off at
Yeah.
Elon. So
yeah, she's got hella followers too.
hmm.
She's the next Ilhan, I guess. See, these are the politicians that are worth like anything. I wish these are the people we would be talking about with, a week until the election. We could actually be excited about something,
Hmm.
but instead here we are just oh god, I don't even know how to describe it.
I mean, I don't know. I think talking about Joe Biden for hours is stimulating and invigorating, and
Yeah, Joe's going to lead us to the promised land of decreasing or increasing tax credits
oh,
for the middle class. It's just like what's more exciting than improving the ACA?
the land of Canaan, riddled with weak need, a public option that should have been instituted, a decade ago.
Or like, yeah, like 50 years ago
Hmm.
probably.
Yeah,
What, the NHS was created in like 1945 or
Hmm.
something?
yeah.
God damn,
Yeah.
guys, fuck is it? America's fucking up. I mean, everybody knows that, but America's really fucking up.
Well, and the Canadian system was, I think, in the 50s too.
Yeah. And I love how both like the lead architects of that are widely considered like the greatest prime minister and the greatest politicians in the history of both those countries, like Clement Attlee and I'm gonna fuck up his first name, Anirudh Bevin for the NHS,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
Nye Bevan. Yeah.
yeah, and then the individual I'm blanking on his name, but in Canada, and they're routinely like every time they do like some national poll, like who's the greatest Canadian and Brit ever, and it's always these same people.
Well, it's kind of like here, who's the greatest president? A lot of people think it's FDR because he gave us nice things. So, even though like there's this worldview that liberals have, which is that they see politicians like as their moms and dads or like as superheroes or whatever, and they do these things because they're just like nice people. Like they just wanted to give people, um, like social welfare programs and whatnot, but like totally ignoring the fact that all of this came from like efforts from below that forced their hand, which I guess we'll talk about in a little bit, but these same things probably need to happen again at a much greater scale. Um, New Deal 2, Electric Boogaloo type shit, which would be really nice. Uh, so I guess we should start. Let's start. I've been recording, but let's actually start, I guess. Uh,
Where do we
introduce.
start? Oh,
I don't.
okay. You
I
should
don't know.
introduce. You do
Me?
it.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the question. Who's the Will Menaker here? Who's the Terrence Ray? Who's the Sam Cedar of this podcast?
Ooh, does anyone want to be Cedar?
No.
Yeah,
I
no.
was like, who? No. I guess we never really discussed that. Well, I guess it'll be on
Yeah.
a rotating basis.
I
Yeah.
mean, I would I'd feel it's a high honor to kind of dub you like our own Michael Brooks. Like you've got the humor, uh, you've got the panache and the looks.
Ooh, the
So
panache. God
I know,
damn.
yeah,
Fucking panache. Let's go.
yeah. That's definitely you, my man. I really don't know where I'd fall on the spectrum. And to be honest, like I really don't pay attention to like so much of these podcasts, like listening to them. I just follow all these people on Twitter for like the past 5 years. So that like that's how I know them, and like I'm constantly up to date with like their arguments and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's how I was before, but I don't know. I'm probably like too much of a podcast junkie. I'm like too deep into the parasocial relationships. I should probably fall back a little bit. Well, I guess I'll start since I have experience in the podcast world. Welcome to M&M. It's noon, and you're just getting out of your rounds is just ending up on the wards, and you're exhausted, and you hear that there's pizza. If you can believe it, there's free pizza up in the conference room waiting for you, and M&M is about to start. And you're kind of excited because you're about to see some of your coworkers, but at the same time, you'd rather just go and take a nap somewhere. But this isn't like that M&M, except for the free pizza. This show is being brought to you by three people within the healthcare milieu. That's a word I know, and we're going to come at you with some different perspectives. Some of us within different fields of medicine, some of us from the public policy world, and hopefully some great guests along the way. We'll see kind of what happens, but I guess I'll start. My name is Lord Gaddafi, as I'm known by these other two people here with me. I have a lot of other AKAs, but we'll just start with that one. Maybe every show I'll have a different one. That would kind of be fun. Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, I think we should all have a rotating set of aliases.
Okay, sweet. Cool. So I'm Lord Gaddafi. I am a PGY4 anesthesiology resident in an unnamed city in an unnamed employer, in case the feds are watching. I grew up in West Virginia. I am not there anymore, but that my upbringing has informed a lot of the ways that I think. Let's see. How did I get to this point? I guess the Bernie campaign is really what jump-started, like many people, I would say, is really what jump-started me to this position of questioning authority in general, and just questioning kind of this entire system, questioning Western notions of like what is normal. And I got sick of hearing like this is just the way it is. And the Bernie campaign really got me thinking outside of the kind of usual liberal types of ways of thinking. And it's not like those ways are bad or wrong, but from my perspective, there's a road that people take, and that road is to communism. And we're going to take you along with us starting today. So that's me. Happy to be here with you all.
I don't know how to follow that up. That was like so smooth.
I'm just going off the top, so I don't know.
I guess I can go next. I'm gonna go with Kirby Sigston. That's my alias for this week. I am about to graduate a child psychiatry fellow, and like Lord Gaddafi, I think the Bernie campaign, which happened like towards the end of my intern year, that was a pretty radicalizing moment. Like you're just taking care of all these incredibly sick people with very little resources, and your discharge plan and your treatment planning is like just being hamstrung by incredibly artificial constraints, mostly financial, material means, like whether people are going to, make it to the bus on time or whatever. And I just found that really frustrating and really not what I wanted being a doctor to be about. And Bernie just kind of put that to the forefront. Like he made Medicare for all like kind of seem like a possible thing, like this, oh my God, this future where like people don't have to worry about co-pays, or how am I going to afford my medications, or do I have to pay for my meds or my rent? yeah, so I jumped from being a helpless lib to being a Bernie bro or Bernard sister. I don't know, Bernard brethren. And now I'm if the USCIS is listening or the NSA, I am a fully fledged socialist.
That's right.
There we go.
Well
Love
said.
it. So I guess that leaves me last man out. Where do I begin? Because I love talking about myself so much. I would say you can address me by Maximilien Zapata. That last name should kind of indicate a little bit of what I bring to the table. Not to give too much away, but I have a background in public education and several years in healthcare on the public policy side of things. I'm located in the South, and by being located or situated in this geographical oddity that is wonderful to experience as a minority, it has radicalized me since childhood. So as much as I love our brother Bernie, he's not the impetus for me being here, though I feel an enormous debt to him for kind of giving me essentially the courage to be more forward with the label of being an outright socialist. And to be honest, like, I kind of want to offend some people, so I am a communist. But I have operated in the world of healthcare for quite some time. And in fact, the larger radicalizing moment for me, jumping from a closet Marxist and maybe a softcore lib, is working on the public policy side of things, specifically in regards to the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid expansion in the state I'm located. The political battles that I've had to fight, the political conversations I've had to have with various offices, with people that work in this realm, not only drove me to incredible amounts of rage and anger at the injustice that all of us that work in the entirety of the healthcare spectrum come across, it greatly served as an impetus to be vociferous in my anger and to be very outspoken as much as I can professionally, and outside of those professional confines to be incredibly loud and willing to be descriptive in any conversation that I have in regards to the atrocity that is the American healthcare system and the various ways that we need to go about addressing it and fixing it. And by fixing it, we're also not saying that it can be reformed from the inside, but that we need to have larger political conversations that hop outside of healthcare itself.
So what I got from that is you were a socialist before it was cool, and you think you're better than us. Is that kind of the summary? Am I on the right? Am I on the right track at least?
I mean, apparently, I think it's socially appropriate for you to say you're humble, but in the world of competition, people love people that are fairly brash, right? Like Jordan and all these people.
So true.
So I won't say that I'm better than you, but if you throw that out there for the viewership or our listeners, I won't debate it.
Well, I guess it's for the folks at home to decide. So over time, I guess we'll follow this ongoing competition. And boy, do we love competition in this country, folks. So this should be exciting.
Capitalism,
baby.
At the end of season 1, we're gonna know, is Max the Michael Jordan of socialism or not?
He probably will be. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna bet, in the spirit of MJ, I'm gonna bet. I'm going to gamble that will be the case. I was also wondering, do we have to refer to you as like the full Maximilien Zapata, or can we just do Max? I don't want to do Max because he might be confused as Max Boot, and I would hate that for you.
Oh, God. Everyone loves
I retract that.
Neoconservative war hawk.
Right.
I don't know. Like, y'all can call me whatever you want. Zap sounds pretty cool. Zap.
Oh, I do like Zap. It's a fucking zing to it.
Like Brannigan?
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's go. Love it. Well, cool. Let's see. Kirby, Zap, and Lord Gaddafi coming at you here. We have a stacked first episode. And by stacked, I mean we're gonna just, talk about healthcare. We're gonna talk about politics. We're gonna talk about our beloved electoral system, and the good things that are definitely coming starting next week in our normal country, in our normal world. And we're all very excited. We're all very anxious, and we can't wait. I guess we should start off with our big, beautiful boy, the man in charge, our king, Mr. Trump, Mr. Donald J. Trump, 45, as the libs will call him. I don't want to say his name. I don't want to, what did Nancy Pelosi say? Yeah, I don't want to platform him, of course.
Yeah, the president of the United States. We
The
don't want to
fucking
platform
yeah,
him.
leader of the free world. Like, definitely don't want to give him any like no any credit or spotlight. Because
The dang Cheeto.
the dang
Oh.
Cheeto, damn it, there's a dang Cheeto in the White House. We're going to talk about him. Has anybody been able to find my man's proposed healthcare plan beyond like we're going to get rid of the ACA and like lower costs or whatever? Has anybody been able to locate this?
No.
No, like the only, well, I didn't do very hard research. So set your sights low for the
She didn't mean that. She was lying. Parody. She did a lot of research.
But on his website, if you go, like the only thing that I could find is like just pop-ups asking me for money. And then the closest thing to his platform is like his promises for what he's, I guess, kept. And it just says he's going to lower drug costs and eliminate the ACA.
I think it worked because from what I'm hearing, insulin is totally affordable now.
And we don't have the ACA anymore.
And we don't have the ACA anymore. So perfect. Well done. Thank you, King. Yeah. Well, did the pop-ups work, by the way?
Yeah, I donated like all of my money.
Yeah.
Like instead of my student loan payments, all the Donald Trump.
Yeah, if you read the fine print, if you donate to his campaign, you get federal loan forgiveness in 80 years. But you have to wait 80 years, unfortunately. But you do get it. So that's nice.
I mean, if that's not a rallying cry for physicians to get rid of their debt, I mean, I don't know what is.
Hey, man, make America great again. And that's the way we do it. It's by donating to Trump and getting rid of our loans. Yeah, I really couldn't find much in the way of, which, like, as you would probably expect, there's not much substance to anything this man says. And if he did have a healthcare plan, I would actually be floored. So this is pretty much par for the course.
Yeah. And in fact, I think the people that have been best equipped to sell Trump care, which is absolutely nothing, just pulled out thin air, is the various conservatives in swing states and in states that have not been swing states but are considered battleground states now, whether they're members of the House or the Senate, and the advertisements that they've been throwing out ad nauseum to the people of these areas. From what I've gathered and seen them thousands and thousands of times, is apparently they love quality, affordable healthcare. They want to protect people with pre-existing conditions. They don't want to take away your right to healthcare. That is what Democratic politicians want to do, especially by establishing the single-payer system. And that in doing so, they want to protect Medicare. Now, I don't mean to be rude or facetious to these talking points, but none of this seems to be factual in regards to the politics that they have continuously demonstrated through their legislation and through their ongoing attempts to undermine these things. But 30 seconds to a minute advertisements are saying otherwise, and I think that is the most any of us have found on the supposed Trump healthcare plan.
My favorite policy position is quality, affordable, and accessible, which is not vague and tells you all you need to know. To me, that's a winner. And I say that sarcastically and ironically, but the sad truth is that actually won. Like he actually won and people win by saying this. And to that, I beg you, America, like, can we get to the next level of like actually asking these people what they mean when they say these these nothing statements. Like, people correctly hate politicians, um, but they don't seem to question. They don't seem to go that extra step and really question beyond what they see on a day-to-day basis. And what we would like to do with this project, and it's not just a podcast, by the way, more to come in the future. What we want to do is not just shit on Donald Trump, not just shit on Republicans. We want to open up the conversation to every single ghoul out there. We want to incorporate all of the losers, all of the scammers, all the people that deserve shame, and that includes, I'm sorry, like probably 98% of the Democratic Party at this point or more. And people ask me this a lot, actually. They're like, well, if Bernie can't be president, like, who would you even want to be president at this point? And to that, I answer, no more fucking presidents, first of all. But if we can't have that, the only people I trust right now with like any shred of trust in the Democratic Party would be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, what's her name? Cori Bush, coming out of Missouri, is actually she's very exciting. I think that's a huge addition to like the squad. Besides that, what do you guys think of Jamal Bowman? I think he's a good possibility of something. But other than that, there's not a lot of other people that I would be proud of supporting in any capacity. What do you guys think?
Yeah, right. And it's not like, these virtuous people that we should just blindly place our faith in. Like, these are elected official, like they are public servants. Like, we should actually push them. We should hold their feet to the fire and demand policy positions from them, right? Like, I'm not going to just stand like, I don't know, like the next, POC woman or like a woman of color just because she's a woman of color and beat like an old white guy. Like, that's cool, but like, also, can she support Medicare for all, the Green New Deal? And is she going to have like substantive policy positions to back that up?
Right. I mean, yeah, like, as we've heard before, Margaret Thatcher had girl power, but does that really matter when girl power dismantles labor in the United Kingdom? Like, does that really matter? Like, what would a woman or a feminist be proud of when it comes to that kind of uh, neoliberalization of the United Kingdom? It doesn't really mean anything. And I would say the same thing for Barack Obama. Like, liberals, hold your asses here. It's the same thing for Barack Obama. Like, you kind of hear this talking point that conservatives say, like, what did Barack Obama do for Black people in this country? And it's not that he did nothing, but I mean, can you guys, besides the Medicaid expansion and some other aspects of the Affordable Care Act and maybe a couple of environmental protections, what did this ostensibly progressive politician really do for the working class? Like, I'm not really sure, because he bailed out the financial institutions, gave a big fuck you middle finger to all of the working class Americans who are still struggling, by the way. The recession, bounce back from the recession, we never actually bounced back. Like, there was never really there's never really a recovery from the financial crisis in 2008. The stock market recovered, but I think everybody here knows, at least, the stock market is not the economy. The economy is how we organize production and distribution of resources. And right now, I don't know, like 90 million people either have no health insurance or are underinsured. 500,000 people sleep in the street every night, and that number is going to increase as eviction moratoriums start to fall off. What else? Like, how many people are crippled with student loan debt? How many people are crippled with credit card debt? How many people are unable to afford childcare? Like, there's all of these problems that are only getting worse and are not being solved. And we're being promised that the Democratic Party is who we should put our faith in. But why?
And
Ask
also,
yourself that. Go ahead.
I also think there's this absolute aversion to historical thought just within the American populace itself.
100%.
And for many out there, Barack Obama represents a kind face to American empire. Not only that, he represents uh, what is the prescriptive um, story that minorities have been fed in regards to achieving success in this country. And he was able to do that by following an established order to things. And that order is a meritocracy that we're all supposed to believe in. And that if you are a person of color, whether you're Black, Latino, whatever, that all you have to do is play the game the way he did, and you can achieve these things. And then when you achieve the highest position that you could possibly like reach in this land, then you can govern as a technocrat that looks for bipartisan consensus on policies. Um, and you can do so by giving that presentable face um, to very mealy mouthed legislation that to some degree helps people, but for many others, they fall in a gap or it doesn't reach them entirely.
And I guess on that vein, like, well, I guess we talked about the dang Cheeto. The overarching theme of what Donald Trump is going to do for you is either nothing, like if you're working class, right? Either nothing or make your life worse, because the plan now, I don't know if we want to get into the discussion on the Supreme Court right now, maybe in a little bit, but the way things are looking right now, the ACA is not looking good. What little things that were good about it may just be ripped up, right? The individual mandate's not even a thing anymore, but the coverage of pre-existing conditions or the non-discrimination for pre-existing conditions, Medicaid expansion, a couple other things, that may go out the window. Um, and it's not like Medicaid is really the system that we want in the first place. It's a means tested program. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. You have to qualify and like send in a shitload of paperwork, and it's all this hassle that nobody should have to deal with to be able to go to the doctor and get care to continue your life. Right? That's what healthcare is. When we say that healthcare is a human right, it means it's the right to continue living your life the way you want to, without having to worry about cost on top of illness, right? So I guess we talked about sorry, I'm a little tangential. This coffee's really hitting now. We talked about Donald Trump, and he's not going to help you, unless you're like a small business owner who has like a series of boat dealerships in the in the Mid-Atlantic.
But I think like he has the veneer of helping you, right? Like he pays lip service to all these things. Like he did get rid of the individual mandate. And if you're like incredibly short-sighted, or you're like, well, I'm an otherwise healthy young person and I'd rather just not pay anything and have nothing rather than pay $700 a year and pay nothing, like get nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. But yeah, like if you actually need any sort of healthcare, like the Republican Party is not your party.
Like beware when you hear these words like access, choice is another one. Just run away when you hear this, because what they're giving you is the choice to die like with a little bit of money in your pocket or with no money in your pocket. Like that's the choice that they're giving you. Access doesn't mean anything when you can't like afford to, like access to healthcare doesn't mean anything if you can't afford it. Because plenty of people have health insurance, but it's too expensive to even use, so they just don't fucking use it. So what's the point, right? Which leads me to our next candidate, another smooth-brained individual that we know and love.
The most progressive candidate in Democratic history.
That's just like the saddest fucking thing. Like, if that is true, if that's truly correct, that's the saddest shit of 2020 probably. That this guy is the most progressive candidate in the Democratic Party's history. Like, fuck, man, that's really bleak. Let's get into it, I guess. What is the actually, let's get into the public option a little bit. What he really wants to do here, and I thank you, Kirby, because you did a lot of this research for us. You hear Democrats, like, moderate centrist Democrats, corporate libs, they talk about protecting the Affordable Care Act. I don't know why anybody would want to do this. I really don't. From the perspective of like just protecting it and doing nothing else, right? Because as things stand right now, and like a lot of liberals probably don't want to hear this, and I'm not talking down to anybody here. We're having an open discussion. I want everybody on our team. I don't want to seem like I'm hoity-toity or above. But the reality is the Affordable Care Act really did shake up a lot of families on the lower and lower middle class, because if you're living out in an area where you have one provider, you go on the marketplace and there's one plan, and it's some horseshit bronze plan that doesn't even really cover the things you need, but it's like that's the only thing you can get, and your premium is now, like instead of like $300-$400 a month, it's now like $900 a month or more. And think about people with families too, not just individuals. Like the Affordable Care Act was a death stroke for these people, and we can't ignore that fact, right? It's this supposedly progressive legislation that's supposed to help millions of people, and it did help a lot of people, but it also hamstrung a lot of people. That's something we can't really ignore. So if you want to protect the ACA and do nothing else, that's not really very useful. And as socialists, as communists, talking within the reformist realm, not the moneyless, classless, stateless society realm. That would be getting a little ahead of ourselves. Within this reformist realm of talking about the political possibility in the near future, the absolute minimum that we should be asking for is a single payer healthcare system. The absolute fucking minimum. Because number one, that is what every industrialized country, that's what most countries in the world have, is a basic guarantee of healthcare, a universal system, right? Maybe it's not a single payer, but most countries do have a universal system that guarantees healthcare that is free at the point of care. No premiums, no copays, no deductibles, no out-of-pocket costs. That is the least we should be asking for. And what Joe Biden is promising the American people is a public option. And people don't know, some people may not really understand what that means or the implications of it. So let's talk about it. Do one of you want to kind of go into what that would mean for people as opposed to the Affordable Care Act or opposed to a single payer system?
Well, I'm actually going to let you or Kirby take this for the descriptive purposes. But I do want to make a couple comments that address what you were just talking about, especially in regards to rural healthcare and people that fell within the coverage gap within the ACA. And I'm also going to relate this for people that are listening to understand that what we're not doing is we're not jumping onto a podcast just to shit on people. If you enjoy our voices and enjoy some of the humor, wonderful. But the idea is to really show you in a descriptive analysis of the various positions that are out there, how they hamstring us as a society, how they keep us from achieving the means and the ends that we want and we desire, which we understand more collectively now should be rights, which is healthcare in general. But how this is also done in a manner where people fail to grasp the larger political arguments that are continuously at play, and that need to be boiled down for individuals. And how when you strip away this husk, you can actually get to the core of things, which is that people need to fucking realize that you have a right to your health and your well-being, and that can only be assured with a universal single-payer healthcare system. One of the reasons people were angry at the ACA was, of course, the individual mandate. And it makes perfect sense in tying in what you were talking about in regards to having premiums that were through the fucking roof that people cannot achieve. Working class individuals cannot pay for this month to month. They can't pay for the co-pays that they go when they see a doctor. And most importantly, it gets to the idea, and it speaks to the word choice, which is something President Biden loves throwing around, right? These capitalists, whether they're Republicans or whether corporate-friendly Democrats, they love throwing around choice, and they love selling it to us as Americans because they love framing us as consumers, that we live in a marketplace, and the healthcare marketplace should be filled with choice for you to pick and choose, rather than understanding that healthcare in its entirety as a full fucking spectrum, you should have at your beck and call. Instead, you should have insurance industries, insurance companies, and therefore insurance plans that give you a choice at healthcare, and healthcare that's piecemeal. And we want to make this affordable. And if you can't afford it, there's Medicaid. And if you can't afford that, or if you don't fall into the Medicaid bracket of coverage, then we can give you tax subsidies. And at the same time, people themselves don't even do this, right? So the individual mandate, where you force people to buy one of these shitty plans, which oftentimes there weren't even that many in some of these areas, and have restrictions on the doctors they see, many who have now aren't unable to keep the same physicians, which Barack Obama used as a selling point, right? How many times was he on news? How many times did Fox News run a fucking bit where he was saying there, well, you can keep the doctor that you have, right? And that wasn't technically true. And so people, of course, revolted to this idea of paying for shitty healthcare that you had to pay an enormous amount for, and that oftentimes could strip you of your choice and ability to see the physician that you wanted.
I have the phrase, sorry, excuse me, I gotta, if you like your plan, you can keep it. I have this phrase just burned into my head, and I probably will for the rest of my life. And I think a lot of people actually feel the same way, because that turned out to not be true.
Yeah. Well, and like, even if you did keep your plan, right? Like, your insurance company just negotiates your doctors. Like,
Yep.
one year your doctor might be in network, and then the other year, oh no, all of a sudden they're not. And your doctor has to have like an incredible amount of paperwork they fill out every year to just like stay on the insurance list. The problem with the public option, if I understand Biden's correctly, is it's going to be some sort of government administered insurance plan that's offered to people who can't afford any of the plans offered on the market, or on like the healthcare or the health insurance exchange, right? It doesn't actually say like what that amount would be, like if it's going to be like a portion of your income. I'm sure it's the Democrats, so it's going to be some very exact percentage of your income. It doesn't promise you anything about like what the benefits would be, and it still leads to the same problems of the multi-payer system that we have today, right? Like the numerous insurances that the doctor's offices have to deal with billing, being credentialed with each and every single service, being forced to fill out all the same different paperwork for every insurance company, whether that's government like Medicaid or Medicare, or all the private insurances. Like, having a private or having a public option doesn't change any of that. And also, like, if you're just siphoning off like all the poorest, sickest people that no private insurance is going to insure, you just end up with like the most expensive risk pool that the government is funding, rather than pooling everybody together in the one large pool and then spreading that cost out for like the whole population.
And not even just spreading cost, the ability to set prices as a monopsony, I mean, as opposed to monopoly. Like, what a monopsony is as a single payer, right? As opposed to monopoly, which is a single seller. Like, if you have one entity that is going to pay for all of these services rendered, they are the ones that are going to have the ability to set prices. Not this like anarchic marketized system where you have like fucking like 2 million plans and like 8 billion different kinds of insurance companies, and like it just makes no fucking sense. And what you hear a lot of the time for private insurance is like, oh, it's the administrative costs, it's is the problem. What that really means is like it takes a vast network of like, pencil neck, actually, I'm not going to say it that way because these are our fellow working class people a lot of the time. But there are people in these big offices that are hired to administer this fucking ridiculous healthcare system, and it does not need to be this way. And some would say, oh, like, what about all those jobs though? Well, okay, well, these jobs can be transferred to government jobs that would probably have, if administered correctly, if created correctly, would have better pay, better benefits, maybe even a pension, etc. It's not like these jobs will just literally disappear. The healthcare system still has to be administered. Don't let people scare you with this, oh, where the job's going to go. Don't let people scare you, because that's what they're very good at, by the way. Republicans and Democrats, they're very good at scaring you. Don't let them scare you. Not only all the things that you were saying, Kirby, it's the mere fact that like insurance as an employer-based entity, the fact that you would have to change your health insurance almost every year. A lot of people have to, like, every single year they have to re-up, find another, like their employer says, oh, here's a new plan that we're doing. And you have to go through that entire fucking rigmarole all over again. And just the hassle of all that. Oh, there's so many people that like their plans. Who the fuck, like, maybe a couple of people here and there are like, oh, I really like my health insurance plan, but who's like holding on to it like it's their child, like a fucking health insurance plan? Seriously, I feel like most people would rather have a system where this is a guarantee and you don't have to think about it. Who wants the choice of healthcare? What people want is a guarantee of healthcare. That's what people want, not a choice between oh, this deductible is $5,000 as opposed to this premium being this. Like, who even wants to think about this? Nobody wants to think about this. So we talk about, like, I think Biden talks about in his plan, like making the system more or less complex. This will only add to the complexity of the system. Basically, what you're doing is creating another health insurance plan on top of all of the private plans, Medicare, Medicaid, the system that we refer to as Cobra, which is another fucking scam. I mean, there and the Veterans Affairs. So there's this entire network of decentralized healthcare finance that makes no sense. That is incredibly complex and incredibly expensive. Healthcare is almost a fifth of our GDP. And we wonder, like, oh, I have no idea why it's so expensive. This is the reason. Because countries have figured out, if you have a single payer that is going to administer this system and all of this falls under one roof, that is how you cut costs. You get rid of the fat, you get rid of the administrative costs, and you just guarantee this shit to people. Like, it's very simple.
And let's also not fail to mention the idea that every level of complexity within the system creates a foothold for Republicans and conservatives to get their evil, insidious fingers on to once again attempt to tear down the system.
Yep. That's what all of the Tories and the conservative government in the UK, that they've been trying to attack the NHS, their national healthcare system. They've been trying to attack the NHS since its inception, right? But here's the thing: when you guarantee this to people and they get used to it, it's really fucking hard to take it away.
And that's a good thing about a robust social welfare system, right? I think it's also important to understand for people that are unaware that they employ a certain language that looks to empower citizens, that looks to empower individuals to back these plans, right? Tear down this governmental bureaucracy that has long waiting times, right? That's one of the things that the Tories use in the UK quite often. And to a certain extent, people buy into it because there are long waiting times. But they fail to understand why there are long waiting times there, which often are due to conservative policies that have stripped away the effectiveness and the efficiency of the system itself.
Exactly. And when you don't have these impediments, when you actually fund a system, it tends to work pretty well. Like that is a broad consensus among conservatives and reactionaries. If you want to get rid of a public or state system, defund it, because that works. That makes people pissed off. Oh, it's inefficient, it's bureaucratic, it doesn't run the way it should. And that's how you get people to turn against it. Just defund it. That's how you get people to start hating it.
Exactly. And the word defund itself plays into what we're saying, right? Like right now we have this whole movement towards defund the police, which Republicans are in uproar for. And defund is pretty much an anodyne word. And it's why they use it so often in regards to the social programs that we have here in the United States and that you see in other countries, especially in the UK, right? Where all this type of attacks are going on. Because defund sounds rather innocuous. It's just shifting money around, right? The NHS can perform their duties with less funding. They're already receiving too much funding as it is. and therefore it's bloat. Taxpayers don't want that. And so they continue to slowly chip away, and it destroys these safety nets. And then people become outraged when the care that they expect to receive is not administered in a timely fashion or comes across in a fragmented or piecemeal manner. And so instead of understanding the larger picture and wanting to attack these evil individuals that have done their job to the T, they attack the people essentially trying to serve them or the institutions that are created to serve them. And I think we need to tie that into the larger idea that the Democratic Party, as it stands, the contemporary establishment party itself, is a party of feckless cowards. And that is exactly what the ACA
Somebody finally
is.
said it.
How can you say that about a party that wants to lower the limit of your cost of coverage from 9.86% to 8.5%? They want to help you.
They're nice. Come on,
They're
man.
nice. Oh, come on, man. Come on, Mac.
Come on, Mac. Come on, Mac.
I mean, forgive me, y'all. Like, I understand it's tricky waters that I'm attempting to tread on, but it's insane when you present the idea of healthcare to everyone in this nation as it is a right. It's not a right that is afforded to you because you've paid your service, by being a worker, by contributing to society. It's a right simply because you're a fucking human being. And if the Democratic Party was a true oppositional party that stood for something, they would be arguing along these lines of establishing the same language that Republicans use, right? Using the same words of freedom and liberty and inalienable rights, which they actually shit on. And they know damn well they do that because it conjures up this emotional attachment, this sentimental feeling, this intellectual connection to these words. And so you have a bunch of people that see the Democratic Party and they see them doing the type of shit where they want to expand the ACA and stuff. And that comes across as just governmental overreach. They don't care about me. They're trying to line their own pockets, and governments attached to the pharmaceutical industry, et cetera. All the very same things that the Republicans are and that they continuously do. They gaslight people into believing that this is what the Democratic Party does. And the Democratic Party is so spineless that they go along with this and they try to fight this battle on their terms rather than reshifting it to focus completely on securing rights and the well-being for all citizens.
They're not like you said, they're not a true opposition party. They're like the loyal opposition. They're like ready to lay down whenever things actually need to get done and like toward the direction of conservatism. They're ready to fuck the Supreme Court nomination of Amy Coney Barrett, ACB, that they're calling her, which I think is so funny. I feel like Trump did this on purpose because they're like, oh, they had RBG, now we have ACB.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
I hate that.
this has probably been observed already, but like that was kind of my conception. But it's like the perfect example. What did Nancy Pelosi tell all of the loyal Democratic supporters and liberals out there? We're going to use every arrow in our quiver. We're going to make sure that this, and Chuck Schumer said very similar words. A lot of Democrats, there was some like leaked report that, the Democrats are readying their strategy to slow down the Supreme Court nomination process. What'd they do? Fucking nothing. Nothing.
They used all their arrows to like kill Bernie.
Yeah, every arrow in their quiver went straight to Bernie Sanders' cock and balls. That's what happened.
No.
Okay, straight through the heart. And this is the party that you're putting your trust in, that I've put my trust in. Everybody here at some point has put their trust in. No more. Okay? We're not getting into the argument of should you vote for Joe Biden or not. That's a separate discussion altogether. But what we're trying to get people to think about here is this party a organization that you should put your trust in, that you should pay any attention to? And over the last at least I don't know, like 12 to 20 years have shown no, they don't care about you. They care about themselves. They care about their donors. They care about power. They don't give a fuck about working class people. So why do we still support them?
think it's important also, whether you're a physician, a nurse, anyone who works in a professional capacity in healthcare, and most importantly, if you're a fucking patient, I hope you have started to come around to the idea that you deserve healthcare, period, right? I hope you cling to some small attachment at minimum that you should start viewing this as a right that you deserve. And then if you do that, I want to bring up a couple things that really paint the clear picture why the Democratic Party are just Republican lights, and that in this country, we don't have a two-party system. We have a unified ruling class disguised itself as warring factions, two warring factions, but at the same time, they both serve the same people, and that is the capitalist class, and that is the class that holds power. When the ACA was first established, it was established in mind to piss off insurance companies to the least extent possible. It was steeped in market fetishism and the logic of capitalism. And it is evident because the people who were the architects of Obamacare never even considered the possibility that our for-profit insurance industry could ignore the greater good of society, and that they didn't even have to participate in the marketplace itself, or establish some sort of law or some sort of penalty that when they pulled out of the marketplace, like fucking Aetna, like Aetna didn't even want to jump into this shit to begin with, and then they were the first to go, and then it becomes dominoes, that there was no penalty for them because it was a weak, hollowed out law from the Heritage Foundation in the 1980s proposed by Mitt Romney. And Barack Obama sold it to the American people as the progressive policy that we could all benefit from greatly, when in reality, it is a fucking scam to continue to enrich insurance. And yet we were sold to it under the neoliberal disguise and lexicon of choice and the freedom that choice allows us, and that we should all receive healthcare if we so choose.
These are like the broad aesthetics of neoliberalism, like condensed down into just this is just one example, right? It's the aesthetics of freedom, choice, autonomy, self-determination, but the catch is only through the mechanisms of the market, which I'm sorry is not free. Markets are a mode of distribution. It's a way of allocating resources, but a mode of distribution that is predicated on ability to pay does not make you free, right?
Yep.
If you can only access a resource if you can afford it, what's free about that? I mean, maybe this is like an overarching philosophical discussion now, but the promises of, a capitalist economy giving you, more freer markets, the freer the market, the freer the people. I don't remember who said that. I mean, probably Adam Smith or one of these other, people that like people have heard the name but don't know anything about, or Ricardo. Maybe it was him. The freer the market, the freer the people. Has history, like if you actually pay attention to history, has history proven that at all? I mean, do people who are living their day-to-day lives, when they interact with the market, does what makes them feel more free? The ability to choose between 17 different types of shampoo, or 10 different types of fast food restaurants. What about the freedom to not die if you can't afford medication? What about the freedom to like live in a safe household? What about the freedom to not go hungry every night, or your children to go hungry every night? 1 in 6 children are food insecure in this country, the richest country in the history of the world. Fucking pathetic. What about the freedom to be able to have your children taken care of so you can go to work and contribute to society and feel better about yourself, your contributions, improving your own skill sets, improving your own, whatever. None of these things fall within the purview of a market. None of these things. And yet we're told that markets are what makes us free. And it's just not true. And both parties like Zap is saying, both parties feed us this bullshit and it never comes true. And it's never going to change unless we decide together that capitalism is not the answer, markets are not the answer. Something has to change through a collective effort of not just treating the symptoms of the disease, but the fucking disease itself. And the disease is capitalism.
Yep.
And maybe people don't want to hear this. Maybe this is fringe. Maybe these are just, radicals that don't know the real world. But folks, if 2020 hasn't taught you by now, I mean, just look around, right? If you think you have it bad, billions of people have it worse, right? And that's not to take away from your situation. It's the mere fact that everybody in this world is struggling. And the reason for that is global neoliberal capitalism, where a tiny minority of insanely rich billionaires control the wealth and power of the entire society. And if you think that makes you free, I don't know what to tell you. What I would tell you is that something has to change and that power has to be wrested from these people. Because if we sit around and continue to put our trust in these politicians to change things, nothing's going to change. And if the last 50 years haven't proven that fact to you, you probably should be paying a little bit more attention.
And I hope people are coming around to this idea that while healthcare should be a right, I hope they can certainly differentiate that is not the world that Joe Biden wants them to have. Joe Biden at the same time is representative of this just get out and vote argument, right? Joe Biden is a return to the normalcy that we have just come from because we now occupy hell world. This proto-fascist government that we currently have needs to return to the decency of the Obama years, which most people don't realize was corporate fascist light. And what we're trying to get at is the idea that this return to the ACA, to expand it, all these little band-aids that want to be attached to it, they're utter destructive failures, and they will continue to cause burdensome harm on society in general. What we're trying to do is establish the fact that healthcare is a right, and apart from a right, it is a call for justice. That healthcare in itself is a battle for equality, it is a battle for equity, and it is not something that we can choose. It is something we fucking claim. And to do that, you have to be violent and vociferous in your voice, in your opposition to these people that don't want to give you what you deserve. Tax credits won't do that. Expanded marketplaces won't do that. Private coverage won't do that. It is a healthcare system that will ensure your well-being from the get-go, that you never have to worry about spending a dime, that the second you are sick, that the second a loved one falls ill, that the second a traumatic emergency happens, you are already taken care of and can focus on that particular issue. Every chronic illness will be treated without bankrupting an individual, that every comorbidity will be understood by the continuum of healthcare individuals and practitioners, and that you won't go broke and die poor and homeless. Why? Because we have a country that is established on an idea of justice and equality, an egalitarian society for all.
Well said, my man. And people are really close. People are understanding that insurance companies are just like leeches on the system, right? They're like, people are waking up to this fact, but we have to help facilitate people toward the broader picture, which is yes, they are frauds, but where does this fraud come from? This fraud comes from a system of private accumulation, right? It's from a system of private ownership. It's from a system that only a few people get to make decisions for millions of other people. And if you feel powerless in your daily life, Gee, I wonder why. It's because the only thing you really have choice over, for most people, the only thing they really have choice over is, uh, I don't know, what they can put on in the morning from their closet, um, maybe what they can eat at lunch, and what time they get to go to sleep. And every other part of their day is controlled by their obligations at home, their obligations at work, where a lot of the time you don't really have any say over your life. And I wonder where anxiety, depression, and alienation come from when people feel absolutely powerless every moment of their life. I wonder why they feel that way. I wonder why depression is skyrocketing in this country, suicide is skyrocketing in this country, and the pandemic obviously has only made it worse. It's like the answers are right in front of us, and you just have to like be brave enough to ask why, and not just listen to people who don't have your best interests at heart. Not only that, who don't want to see you thrive. They want to see you stagnate. They want to see you continue to be the person you are right now, and they don't want to see progress.
The
That
DNC
is,
are fake friends.
they're fake friends, folks. Okay? They smile to your face, and then behind your back, they're talking to your best friend at the locker, at their locker, and they're talking shit about you, and they won't let you sit at the lunch table with them. Okay? And it's fucking shitty baked steak for lunch, and you're already pissed off. Anyways, so these are not your friends. Let's take a little visit to some of the other candidates with the little bit of time we have left. What do you guys say?
Yeah. There's obviously the perennial third party, Green Party, Howie Hawkins. And pretty much the only thing I found was that the Green Party supports single payer universal health care and preventative care for all. You believe that healthcare is a right, not a privilege.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, thumbs up.
Short, sweet, to the point. Well said. I can't really ask for much more from the Green Party. I mean, was Ralph Nader Green Party, or was he something different?
He was Green Party, wasn't he?
I think he was.
I thought he was.
Yeah. Okay. I was just making sure. Shout out Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader is actually pretty awesome. Howie Hawkins was spotted. Just pretend I'm in my Gossip Girl voice. Howie Hawkins spotted on Twitter shitting on AOC, our actual comrade. Howie Hawkins was telling the Twitter world that AOC stole his Green New Deal and made it worse, basically. And I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny, but I don't think that's like, if you're actually interested in I don't know, like a collective consolidation of working class interests toward like the liberation of all peoples, I don't think you start shitting on people that should be your friends and say like, you stole my idea, fuck you. Like, I don't really think that's like the path forward. So Howie Hawkins is on his no new friends path, which I don't think is really useful for the Green New Party. Or the Green New Party.
That's the new party that we're starting.
That's okay. Now we're talking. The Green New Party.
Eco-socialist party.
Yes.
Well, now Howie Hawkins is going to be mad that we stole his party.
Yeah, that's fine. Now he can really have something to be pissed off about. LaCroix incoming. Go ahead.
I'm not going to jump into the Howie Hawkins debate too much. What I want to say
the Howie Hawkins discourse.
Yeah, exactly. What I want to say is Howie Hawkins and his running mate have actually advocated for the majority of things that we should have in this world, right? Like in this country, for sure. But there's a broader conversation that I know we're not going to have here today, but it does kind of need to be mentioned. And that's the idea of the political impotence of electoralism. The Green New Party, we feel, is this vehicle for change. Nah, fuck that. And it's not because we don't agree with it. It's because we don't feel the Democratic Party, let alone the Republican Party, are vehicles for change. So while I know there are plenty of socialists rightfully casting a vote for Howie Hawkins in this election, the continuous argument we face is electoralism itself our path to change, our world, our society into what we desire. And I think in regards to healthcare, we need to understand that what we are doing on this podcast is centering labor. Okay. We're not championing AOC. I'm certainly not going to stand for any fucking Democrat, no matter the few that I respect that I might cast a ballot for. I'm not also advocating for a third way independent movement. What I am advocating for is an organized collective of workers. And for this podcast perspective that pertains strongly to healthcare issues and in the political realm, that is a coalescence of everyone that works in a hospital, that works in a clinic. And when you have that type of mass movement, labor organizing effort, where the internecine battles within professions, within the strong animus that can occur between the professions themselves, physicians and nurses, PAs and physicians, nurse practitioners and physicians, etc. We're trying to tear that down. We're trying to expose those fault lines, and we're trying to build collective unity. And you do that through solidarity and by fucking understanding the nuances, the intricacies, the idiosyncrasies of these arguments, and going to bat for them justly. And as much as I do love the platform that the Green Party is running this election cycle, they have never been a vehicle for change. They have never been in a parliamentary system like they have in Europe, a way to strip enough votes away so socialists, communists, independents can say, hey, we're voting for a Green Party because the Republicans and the Democrats need to get our act together. It sounds great in theory, but it has never occurred here. But what has occurred here is labor movements, is mass movements of people, whether it was countercultural revolution, whether it was feminist movements, whether it has been those small labor movements that we have. That is when we affect change. And when we have done so, we have won rights. We have won rights to a more democratic workplace. And those things have also been torn down historically, because since the 70s and these type of things started to come to be politically, the Conservative Party congealed themselves around the idea that, hey, keep these groups completely fractured. They cannot have mass unity because it is a threat to our political project. And so these divisions continuously rear themselves. And we have these continuous divisions just in healthcare itself and organizing workers. And so I hope we move forward with that. And that is also a way that we're saying, like, hey, Green Party, great platform. I don't know if I'm really fucking with you.
Direct action gets the goods, I think is a nice way to sum part of that up, at least.
So if the Green Party doesn't get you going, what about the Libertarian Party?
Oh my God, I love age of consent law.
Joe Jorgensen.
Now we're talking about the fucking issues.
That's right, the real shit. In the primary when Vermin Supreme was running, I was like, you know what? If they got Vermin Supreme on the ballot, I would think about it. But true to their ethos, each libertarian state party has their own platform, which is, I think, slightly different. But for the presidential ticket, it's Joe Jorgensen.
Or as you like to call her, Yo Jorgensen.
I know, that's just the way I want to say it in my head. I think it just sounds better that way.
I agree.
But do you want to read that one, or should I? And then y'all can go off.
I'll take a stab. It looks like young Yo Jorgensen has this to say. For decades, politicians in Washington, D.C. have insisted that it's the fault of the free market and that, therefore, we need to go to a single-payer system.
Who are the politicians?
Yeah, First of all,
like Bernie?
Who on earth, besides like 5 people in Congress right now, are saying we need a single-payer system, right?
And for decades.
Yeah, for decades.
When?
This conversation started like 5 years ago. Like, single-payer was not even on the fucking radar 10 years ago. Anyways, yes, well said. Therefore, we need to go to a single-payer system. I have some news for them. We haven't had anything close to a free market in nearly a century. My God, do I have something to say about this? Well, people, I mean, what do I really have to say about this? Again, like, I don't know. Maybe I want to say this a little bit later. I'm going to save it for later.
Okay.
The alternative, so they go on. We haven't had anything close to free market in nearly a century. The alternative to our current big government failure, which I love, isn't an even bigger government failure, which would leave behind the very patients who are already suffering the most. So if I'm understanding this correctly, Yo Jorgensen and the Libertarian Party is telling us that the problem with a single payer system is that it would only contribute to a bigger government that has proven itself to be just a big failure, colossal failure, won't actually help people. All right. On what fucking planet do we have a big government? Like the very few social programs that we actually do have in this country, the means tested, the ones that every single politician or every single obstacle is implemented in order for people to not qualify for these social programs, right? The few that exist have been like systematically gutted over the entirety of this neoliberal period, which is about the last 50 years or so. Like I was saying before, like 90 million Americans don't have meaningful health insurance coverage, right? No guarantee of daily sustenance in this country. 1 in 6 Americans are food insecure. We talked about the number of people that are homeless, sleeping in the street every night. Like, somebody tell me where in our bourgeois state, where the government is big.
Military.
Or even medium. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. The military industrial complex is probably the only big thing in our government, and yet Republicans seem to love this. And of course, Democrats who don't want to appear weak love the military as well. It's just like the most insane shit, and it's people who like don't benefit from market distribution that hump it the most. It makes no sense. Anyways, so that's Yo Jorgensen. What they also have to say is, I love this. They compare Singapore, quote unquote, Singapore, which uses a similar system, not really, has costs that are about 1/3 the cost of our country. Doctor visits there cost only about $10, cheaper than our copay here. And while knee replacement surgery costs $40,000 in the U.S., it costs about $13,000 in Singapore. All right, so I'm just going to read off what you had to say about this.
I wonder why it's so much cheaper.
Yeah, I have no idea, right? So you said, we were saying before, Singapore has a basic mandated universal health insurance system covering like major hospital costs. The patients are like responsible for a certain percentage, and the people who can't afford that have some kind of supplemental insurance from the government. But what we're really trying to say here is that, does this sound like our system at all? No, it really doesn't. So to compare our like fractured, marketized private health insurance to Singapore makes absolutely no fucking sense. But kind of par for the course for the Libertarian Party. Thanks for playing once again. Thank you for taking away 10,000 votes out of the millions in the United States. Thanks for playing. All right, here we go. Now we're getting to the meat and potatoes here.
The real shit. This is my girl.
Yeah, you wanna go ahead?
Sure. So, Party for Socialism and Liberation, or I think it's the Peace and Freedom Party in California. Either way, I love both. So that's Gloria La Riva, and their platform is "Make the essentials of life into constitutional rights." That's right. Everybody snap their fingers. I feel like we should have like the air horn sound.
I'll add them in post.
Okay, thank you. The U.S. has more than enough so that all the essentials of life, food, housing, water, education, healthcare, and a job or basic income can be guaranteed rights.
Yes. Go ahead. Go off, Queen.
I think so. Rather than distributed only for profit, create a completely free and public healthcare system make education free, cancel all student debt. Oh my God. That would.
Hot damn, I'm moist. Can I say that on the podcast?
Of course you can.
That's, yeah. We believe in the freedom of speech.
Yes.
Fully fund rebuilding of infrastructure and transport, water, utility systems, stop all foreclosures and evictions, and all discrimination based on ability/disability.
The saddest part of this is that your average American will read this and be like, impossible. How are we going to pay for it? And it's like what Zap was saying before, like, people have the courage to demand what you deserve, right? These are all things that every single person currently living deserves, right? Healthcare, water, food, housing, education, a guaranteed job, or some kind of guaranteed income, right? Everybody deserves this, because here's the secret. When Republicans, or even some Democrats, they kind of they present you this very individualist outlook on life, that, you know, it's very like self-sufficient. I can take care of myself, take care of yourself. Oh, almost knocked my mic over. Take care of yourself, take care of your own, fuck everybody else. This like completely ignores the reality, which is, oh no, I'm going to say it again. We live in a society.
You know, we're living in a society.
Okay. Whether you like it or not, almost every single aspect of your existence is reliance on other people, right? Okay. Did you prepare the food that you ate this morning at the hospital? Probably not. Did you build the house that you woke up in this morning? Probably not. Did you go and fetch the water from the well this morning that you drank, or that you put in your coffee? Probably not. Oh, did you also conjure the coffee beans that you consumed this morning? Probably not. Okay, what else? Did you teach yourself all of medicine, all of your undergrad studies, everything that came before that? Probably not. So what I'm trying to say is, whether you like it or not, you live in and rely on society, and that means that every effort to deny this fact, it just makes you look, I'm sorry, it just makes you look like you don't understand the reality. It makes you look like you are living in an alternate universe, because everybody actually does contribute to this broader collective effort, and all we're trying to do is expand it.
But I'm an individual, and what you're describing sounds like communism.
Buddy, I'll tell you what, if that's what communism is, communism sounds pretty damn nice. All right. Because what we got right now, I mean, can anybody tell me what's going on right now is like pretty good? Like, who can actually convince me that the current state of things is like things are going pretty well? It'd be hard to convince me.
Like, if you're really rich, it's working out pretty well for you.
Yeah.
Not like Dr. Rich, not like, oh, the richest guy in the neighborhood, but like unimaginable wealth.
Like, yeah, psychopath rich. Yeah. Like,
oh yeah, like if I had an OnlyFans.
I mean, you will after this episode, right?
Please don't intrude on my territory. We already discussed my feet-centered OnlyFans, and
my bad, Lord.
You're not gonna. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your patronage.
But I do think like what you describe is so much more better than the modern feudal society of indentured servitude, certainly for physicians, as many physicians themselves describe the current conditions they have as residents in training. It seems so much better. So I don't know why anyone is adverse just to these ideals, or the idea that you can't understand that you operate as an individual within a community. And we take care of each other, even as unrational and capitalistic as our society is, it still functions in that manner.
And not only indentured servitude, like residency, I hear it referred to as indentured servitude a lot, and it kind of is, but our like healthcare or our medical training and education, it's really just a guild system, right? Like, you go through this this medical school process where you actually like have to pay to learn like all the things you need to know, right? Then you go into this period of residency where you're actually a doctor, but you're still like training. Like, how is this any different from like being an apprentice? right? How's being a fellow any different than being like a journeyman? How is being an attending any different from being a master? Like this entire like healthcare or medical training process, it is just a fucking guild system that, I don't know, like keeps people, I mean, I guess it's better than just like straight wage labor where you have no prospect of like moving up in the you know, in the hierarchy or whatever. Like at least there is light at the end of the tunnel that one day you will be a master. But the fact remains, like, you are under the thumb of some entity that you don't control. You don't control the conditions of your work. You don't control the conditions of your life. And we accept it. And
Like,
this is, go ahead.
Sorry, I mean, it might be a guild, but like we're not craftsmen at the end of it. The vast majority of physicians are employees. Like,
Exactly.
we have nicer salaries. We usually have nicer working conditions, unless you're a surgeon, I guess. We have the nicer, prettier gilded cages, but like it's the same sort of labor that everyone else who has to work for money does.
Right. Like the old way of things was like, yeah, you do your time and then eventually you go out into private practice and you're your own boss. And like, okay, that's a nice prize at the end where at least you get to determine the conditions of your work. But we don't even have that really anymore. As like doctors continue to be proletarianized, continue to become employees of the hospital. I mean, your promise of like, oh, things will get better after residency, like, not really. That's not really happening for a lot of people. So, it'll all be worth it. Like, I'm kind of skeptical for many of us, and many of you should also be skeptical of that. Don't believe them. Once again, don't believe them. They're trying to keep you down, man. They're trying to confuse you. It's the system, brother.
It can be better if we make our communist utopia
Soon,
fully automated luxury gay space communism.
inshallah, my people. Did we have another? Oh, I guess
we have two more.
We have two.
Did
more.
we have another? This is a really quick one because there isn't much to say about this, but I didn't realize the Prohibition Party was like a thing. They're running Phil Collins, not the Phil Collins that we're all thinking of.
Not the Phil Collins that demanded that Donald Trump stop playing his music at his rally. Not the Phil Collins that is begging his ex-wife to stop occupying his home. Not that Phil Collins, which like, what? Like,
what is happening with Phil Collins?
I keep thinking the simulation can't get any weirder, but it just continues to just floor me every single day. Anyways, not that Phil Collins.
But they're going to abolish the Federal Reserve System. And
okay.
Which, all right, they had me at that part.
Kind of tight, yeah.
Next part, we prefer the state level healthcare programs to federal programs. We will find ways to reduce the 33% inefficiency imposed on the American healthcare by insurance industry overhead and price gouging.
Like, isn't this so inspiring? Like, we will find ways. Like, oh yeah, just trust me, just trust us. We'll figure it out.
I know one really good way.
What is that? Is it something we've been saying for the past hour or so? Or
yeah.
Okay, understood. Yeah. And then again, like, we prefer state level healthcare programs to federal. Like, okay, so you're going to make a fractured system that is decentralized when healthcare is something that, I'm sorry for all my anarchist friends out there, as healthcare is transitioning from our marketized system, it probably needs to be centralized in at least the initial stages, because this is an incredibly complex system of delivery of a human need, right?
I mean, if you've tried to ever switch your Medicaid from like one state to the other, like, it's a huge pain in the ass. Each state has their own requirements and paperwork. You can't go see your new doctor until everything's, been taken care of. I can't imagine having to do that every time I move.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Prohibition Party, thanks. Thank you for your service. But we need a single payer system and free Phil Collins. The last one we have is it really the birthday party, or was that just like a little joke?
No, I think that's the actual name.
That's awesome.
My God.
Well, our beloved hip hop god, or actually, he's just a god. I mean, according to himself, young Kanye West here, who apparently God is speaking to him. I listened to his Joe Rogan appearance, and apparently God is speaking to this man. And he's whispering little sweet nothings into his ear and telling him, Kanye, you're the man for the job. You should be the leader of the free world. I encourage you all to go take a listen to at least like little snippets of this interview. I found myself actually surprised at some of the things that he was saying. I found myself surprised at Kanye offering little pieces of anti-capitalist rhetoric, actually. Do not mistake me. He is not a socialist. Do not mistake me. He's not a communist, right? And like anything close to that. But I did find myself surprised at some of the things he was saying. Like once you are able to push away all of the like manic energy and just like focus in on what he's actually trying to say, then it's just like it's very difficult to follow him. I'm not trying to say like, oh, he's crazy or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that, but he is rather tangential. He is rather flight of ideas-y. But if you can focus in on what he's saying, some of it's just absolute garbage, but some of it I was actually surprised. So if you want to go listen to it, I guess I don't think he has much on like really anything. Definitely not on healthcare, right?
I've been able to find a little bit on his, at least like his Wikipedia entry. It just kind of compiles all the random public statements that he's ever made into different sections. And like some of it's like pretty legit, right? Like he's for Black Lives Matter. He has like pretty decent things to say about police reform. And I think that's kind of like what happens when you're, a Black man, or like if you're poor, or if you live like if you've been some sort of marginalized identity in America, like you have enough lived experiences to have some sort of insight with like a grain of truth in there. And like some sort of legitimate analysis. Like it might not be tied to like any actual like formal socialist or anti-capitalist analysis, like in a greater structural sense, but like some of the shit's that's going to be true, because like it is racist. Like there's horrible things going on here. But the most that they've written about his healthcare plan is really about his stance on abortion. In July 2020, West stated, "I am pro-life because I'm following the word of the Bible," and expressed his belief that Planned Parenthoods have been placed inside cities by white supremacists to do the devil's work. Yeah. At a rally in South Carolina, same month, West stated, "Abortion should be illegal because the law is not by God anyway." However, he proposed giving every mother that does not abort their child a financial incentive using, quote, $1 million or something in that range as an example.
Sounds like our beloved ACB, just without the $1 million giveaway for saving children.
Yeah, like if I have to have a kid, I wouldn't mind $1 million.
Yeah. I too am following the Bible, the word of the Bible, and offering my firstborn son to the Creator on high on the mountain. I hope I didn't mess up that parable. I don't know. It's been a while since I was in Catholic school, but either way, yeah. I mean, I think Black people in this country, people of color in this country, rightly are skeptical of the entire kind of healthcare landscape. I think just think about like the Tuskegee experiments, right? Purposefully like inoculating Black subjects, Black patients, to see the progression of syphilis without treatment. I mean, how disgusting is that, right? Mm-hmm. And there are countless other examples of these kinds of things that have happened. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is an actual thing that happened.
Yeah, forced sterilizations. Forced
sterilizations. The list goes on, right? So I think people of color in this country rightly are skeptical. But sometimes what he said about Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood, how it's like kind of couched in this eugenics type movement. There's some truth to it, but I don't think like she necessarily was like wanting to like sterilize Black people, like kind of what he was saying. I think she had some eugenic type, I don't know. How would you really say it?
I mean,
some like of her, go ahead.
Historically, like she did come out of like the eugenicist, like the genetic hygiene or whatever you want to call it, like movement, right? But in the current like healthcare landscape, I mean, that's like Planned Parenthood provides, you know, breast exams, like pelvic exams, just basic reproductive health care to a lot of people, especially if you like don't have insurance and you just need to pay on a sliding scale. Like, where else are you going to get your birth control or your IUD or anything else?
Exactly. So it's not like we can just look at Planned Parenthood and say like, oh, it has this history of like racial discrimination and eugenics, just like we should get rid of it. Well, I mean, there are material benefits that people get from Planned Parenthood. We can't discount that. But I mean, ideally, like Planned Parenthood wouldn't need to exist, right? Ideally, if you have a national healthcare system, you have a single payer system, we repeal the Hyde Amendment, we do all these things, right? Roe v. Wade becomes the law of the land, or like maybe we can do even fucking better than that, right? Maybe there's like more political possibility than just doing that. So kind of like, kind of problematic. Planned Parenthood, a little bit problematic. Problematic fave. Hopefully one day we won't need Planned Parenthood, but there is still it still helps countless numbers of people for their healthcare needs.
Yeah, I think the litany of services, especially services in regards to women's healthcare that Planned Parenthood provides, is just so fundamentally important in the shitty healthcare world that we have, and the lack of access and the lack of services that women have at their immediate disposal. Now, I don't know too much in regards to any sort of nefarious history in regards to Planned Parenthood, but I know the ideas that Kanye espouses in regards to the history of medical horror that Black people have faced, that marginalized individuals and minorities have faced under the white supremacist model of governance and healthcare that has fundamentally undergirded our society, is accurate. But I think it's also dangerous to even give some amount of credibility to Kanye, because Kanye at the same time is a product of American celebrity. And that is also a huge problem that we face all over the political spectrum. And that is the idea that we attach celebrity to individuals. Barack Obama, Donald Trump is a product of celebrity. I mean, he's a fucking game show host. I mean, for like crying out loud, right? And so we look to these people as if they are above us because capitalist consumer culture demands it. They have essentially won capitalism. They have reached the highest echelons of capitalism, and we all desire to be there. And so Kanye West, apart from having a very problematic background in regards to his own healthcare, right? And I'm not one to speak on it, but I certainly know people that are psychiatrists and psychologists have certainly brought attention to his erratic and manic behaviors. And at the same time, because he has access, simply because of the money he has and because of the culture that he operates at the top of and the celebrity position he maintains, has a voice. And so many people, especially, you know, the standing millennials and the Zoomers that love him, that love people like Joe Rogan and are so ingrained in getting their information from podcast culture, think his voice is legitimate. And that is also very dangerous. So yeah, at the end of the day, I have nothing good to say about Kanye, but he does raise some kind of salient points in regards to issues that I certainly know we will address moving forwards for healthcare.
Yeah, I would never vote for. I mean, you know, maybe if Kanye reformed himself and he became a Marxist-Leninist or something, maybe I would consider voting for him. But as things stand currently, I would never vote for Kanye West. But if we're looking at the way people consume politics, consume culture, we can't ignore a figure like Kanye West, even if it is like kind of like fucking outlandish and ridiculous and stupid. We can't really ignore it because people are paying attention to him.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of a similar argument for electoralism, right? Like there are a lot of leftists who rightly are skeptical of the electoral process because it is shitty and usually does not amount to any wins for the left, right? But we can't ignore it completely, like a lot of anarchists and communists would like us to, because the fact remains that the working class pays attention to electoral politics, and a lot of the time pretty much nothing else. There's not a lot of attention paid to mutual aid projects. There's not a lot of attention paid to direct action or really activism in general. People's conceptions of politics are strictly through the lens of electoralism. There's some politician who's going to help me get what I want eventually, and a lot of people are just single issue voters too. All I care about is the age of consent should be 16 or 14 now. Or, the only thing I care about is like the payroll tax. Or the only thing I care about is, just like there are a lot of people who are like this. So you can't, I guess what I'm saying is like, you can't ignore, even if it's stupid and ridiculous, you can't ignore it because people do pay attention to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It has to be just one tool in our toolbox, right? Like we can't solely rely on electoralism to get what we want, but we also can't completely discount it as a strategy.
Yeah. And I also think, we can't ignore Kanye, but you can't simply end the discussion at face value, right? You have to have a larger, more in-depth discussion about all these other things that Kanye represents and that his positions represent. So if you simply treat him with the seriousness as a potential presidential nominee, you are also going to kind of do harm because people will simply take that at face value. And it's like, no, we are doing that. But we also need to discuss a couple other things that, kind of contribute to this history and why we have to take him seriously. And it pertains to a lot of larger arguments.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, pretty much covered it.
So we're all voting for Kanye?
Yep. Punching one in for Kanye. Or maybe I'll write in Kim. Who knows? Just for fun. We're pretty much at the end here. I guess like the overarching thing we really want to say, or our overarching vision, I guess, for healthcare, right? We really just need a system that's going to guarantee that everybody's taken care of. Sorry, there's a dog on the chat now, and I can't look away.
Oh,
dude, you're ruining my fucking vibe, man. Come on. You're ruining my flow. I mean, not my vibe. My vibe has very much improved, actually, but my flow. Anyways. So really, all we really are trying to say in the end to distill this down is we need a healthcare system that guarantees coverage for everybody, no matter the ability to pay. This is not utopian. This is not radical. This is not... We're asking for things that millions of people in this world already have, right? I personally would like a little bit more. But if all we can get is a single payer system that eliminates out-of-pocket costs and is funded through progressive taxation that most Americans will actually end up paying less in health insurance costs, or not health insurance, but for healthcare costs on average, just through taxation, right? Because again, I've said this many times before, but like, what is a healthcare premium if not a private sector tax, right? If you're paying $300 a month to a health insurance company, how's that any different than paying your taxes at the end of the year? And on top of that, like for your insurance to even kick in, you have to pay some multi-$1,000 deductible. And then you go to the hospital, then you get care, and then you get a bill at the end like, oh yeah, we actually didn't feel like covering all this stuff that you needed because we just didn't really feel like it, and we could save some money that way.
And don't you dare go out of network.
Yeah, don't you do it.
Yeah, stop having emergencies outside of your hospital network.
Yeah.
So really the crux of all of this is not only from the perspective that it does save money, which like, yeah, by the way, a single payer system will save money over a privately administered system. That's not really the point. The point is that this is a fucking human right. And there are millions of people suffering, people around you and you don't even know, people you don't know, and they're all around you. People are suffering all the time from this incredibly destructive healthcare system, and it has to change. And I think that could be the starting point of a much broader change in this country, because if you're guaranteed a human right like healthcare, that opens up the possibilities for a lot of other a lot of other rights that people will start to realize that they also deserve, like the right to housing, like the right to food and water, like the right to an education, for the right to childcare, the right to transportation, the right for a safe environment, and the list goes on. And people will say, oh, well, you're never going to stop demanding things. If you keep getting stuff, they're never going to stop demanding. That's the point. Never stop demanding things because you fucking deserve it, okay? Don't sell yourself short. We're all people contributing to society in our own way. And because of that, we all demand fucking respect, and we all demand to be taken care of. Period.
Hell yeah.
Man, just got fired up. God, I got to go dunk my head in some like ice water now. Any last thoughts from y'all?
Be realistic. Demand the impossible.
Oh,
Absolutely.
hell yeah.
Pragmatic in our approach, do everything with optimism that it'll be successful.
Revolutionary optimism. Finally got that back. I was black-pilled for a very, very long period in the summertime, but I'm back. I'm back, baby. Better than ever. Here we go, folks. The direction, that's the word. The direction this podcast is going to go is going to be kind of like little vignettes, almost, probably like peppered in with a little bit of like current events type things here and there potentially, but this podcast is going to go the direction of like little vignettes. We're going to talk about different things within medicine, within healthcare that should piss you off and you should know about. Some examples. We were talking about it like last week. What are some examples that we decided we wanted to talk about?
Like healthcare and philanthropy, what happened at Hahnemann Hospital, what private equity is doing in healthcare. Why is our medical education system like the worst?
Yeah, there's all these topics that like I feel like most people in medicine have thought about, and we want to kind of dissect these and, you know, offer like a materialist analysis to how we got here. We want to do some historical bits, like how did the AMA come to be? How did medical education come to be the way it is? We want to definitely do a primer on different types of healthcare delivery and finance. You know, what is the, you know, get into the nitty gritty, like what is the difference between the Affordable Care Act and a public option and a single payer system and a national healthcare system? Like what really is the difference between these things? How is Canada's healthcare system different from United Kingdom and Germany and whatever else? So we want to offer all these things to you guys and give that material analysis of how we got to this point, because we can't really understand the present until we understand the past, right? We need context to our current situation or we'll never truly understand. So
I feel like there's a really important term for that.
Are you referring to historical materialism by chance? Yeah. Are you okay? I love that one. Love that word. I was going to change my name to historical materialism, actually.
You could just name your kid that.
Yeah, I might. It was either that or dialectical materialism. I can't decide. But everything's dialectic, and we should all know that. So we hope that you all join us on this journey of learning, of uncovering deception, and realizing our collective power and the need for making the world a place for all. Okay. What do you say? Does that about do it?
Pizza time.
Pizza time. I'm gonna go finish my LaCroix and treat myself to a little late night snack of smart popcorn and cry a little bit.
Oh, why? Why the crying?
It's you just need to cry sometimes. A little bit cathartic. We got a week left until the world begins its final stage. Until capitalism really truly reaches late stage capitalism. I think we joke about it, but I think the true late stage capitalism will truly begin starting next Tuesday. So we can't wait.
Should we do like an election watch?
Maybe.
Should we all cry together?
That would, actually, that'd be so cute. I'd love that. We could collect our tears in a big jar and put them all together, collective tears.
Yeah, we would probably have to like cast some spells, put it under like a full moon or something.
Ooh. We'll see. There's a lot of voodoo. There's a lot of spookiness coming in the next few days. We're recording this on the 27th of October. So, boys and girls, the spirits are out and we're ready to get a little goofy. So, we'll see what happens.
Signing off.
We'll see you next time.
Later.